what we'll be doing here is that we will have you learn how to arrange leadership seminars. Because we figure that if we just trained you on leadership, it is not enough. How many participants registered for this training? We had just 260 participants, right? We need so much hands on deck in the problem of leadership in Africa. And 260 people, and it is not enough number to signal the kind of change we are looking for. So you are a necessary first step in our journey to where we want to be, right? So you, as a participant, is going to be trained on how to deliver leadership seminars in youth organizations around you. You can find these youth organizations in secondary schools. You can find these youth organizations in church, religious institutions around you, churches and mosques and the rest of them. You can find this group of students anywhere around you. But the point is that you will be armed with skills that will enable you to step into the world, in your communities especially, and start leadership seminars. So what does this mean? This means that you, from this training, will learn how to conceptualize a leadership lesson, right? You will learn how to create a leadership lesson, and you will learn how to go to different schools, drop proposals there about leadership trainings, accept the invitations, train young people there on leadership, and bring back feedback. That lesson is what will be awarded the $100. The person who creates the best lesson plan proposal for teaching returning results will win this $100. And the prize is not just for one person. We have prizes for runners up, right? Up to the sum of $50. But the prizes will go to the person who is able to create the best proposal around him. So the best proposal should basically be a workable proposal. So we are both grading you for participating in these lessons. We are also grading you, right? We're also grading you for having the best proposal right. Over the course of this seminar from now till Saturday, we'll be sending you questionnaires to fill. The different teachers that we have here will be training you and also will be grading you. The person with the highest grade and the person who returns the most clear, workable proposal will win the sum of $100 or will be a runner-up to the sum of $100. So how will these lessons play out? The first day, today, we'll be taking one of our most important topics, and that is public speaking. Public speaking is a beautiful skill that every person who is training others on leadership and who is a leader will have. All the leaders you know about are great public speakers. Any leader you know, there is no leader that cannot speak well. And the idea is that you inspire other people to believe in your vision. But beyond that, you are learning public speaking here as a way of not just being a leader that can clearly pass your ideas across, but also being somebody that can teach others how to be a leader. So no other person is best to handle that topic than Chizi himself. Chizi Iwumune will be taking us on that. Chizi is a seasoned public speaker. He has been in the public speaking space for over 10 years, and he has mentored a lot of students all over the country. Chizi is a distinction graduate, all the way from the university. All his master's program is postgraduate education. He's been a distinction student, and he's also influenced others to be distinction students, people who have won awards all over the country. Tomorrow, we'll be tackling the problem, the issue of public writing proposals for school outreaches. Jeff Levy will be taking us on that. Jeff is a teacher in Israel. He's going to be teaching everyone here how to craft a proper proposal. So after learning public speaking today, tomorrow you'll be learning how to craft a proper proposal. Pay attention to what Jeff will be teaching, because Jeff's teachings will constitute a significant part of what is our grading process. After that, Mawuli Abalo would be also teaching us. He'll be teaching us on content creation. So tomorrow we'll be taking 2 courses. Today, because today is just the first class we'll be holding, we will not be having more than 1 lesson today. But tomorrow we'll have 2 lessons. Jeff and Mawuli will be teaching. Mawuli will be teaching us how to create content for speeches. So how to be able to develop content that your speakers will be able to relate to. Mawuli will be teaching that. On the 3rd day, Jachima will be teaching us preliminary online research. So if you want to go and deliver a talk somewhere, you should be able to know how to do your research. You should be able to know where you can go to get verifiable information online that will support your teaching. And that is what Jachima will be taking us on. Then we will be taught by Gideon on how to report results from the outreaches. Just like we are doing this training now, we are going to be having a report written on this. You should also be able to know how to check whether your speech, the exercise you've gone ahead to have, is impactful to people. So that is how the lessons will go. By the time we are concluding our discussion, by the time we are concluding the discussion for today, I will have to introduce the speakers and have them say hi. Now, if you are here right now, I would like you to be seated in a proper place for you to be able to take notes. As I pointed out, we will be checking your participation, your ability to respond to questions, and other forms of evaluation that the teacher today will be holding, using to measure your participation. So I want you to be sure that you will learn a lot. The process will be interesting. If you cannot hear anything, if the voice is not clear around your area, please let us know in the chat. Send us a message. We'll be able to immediately correct that. But just have your writing materials ready and then be able to respond to the speaker when he asks for your response. On the strength of that, I will be introducing our speaker for today. I've mentioned that Chizi is a seasoned public speaker. He is also a mentor to many students. He is committed to creating distinguished leaders and distinction graduates. His mentorship seminars have yielded fruits, giving students who otherwise would not have been able to understand how to effectively pass their exams, their ability to do so. Chizi is not new in the public speaking space. He has produced a number of books on this issue. One of them is The A Secret. We've had at PFF, we've hosted Chizi a number of times, and he has been able to impart his wealth of knowledge on us. So I will hand over the opportunity to him now to speak and continue the session from here. As I've pointed out, please try to get your writing materials out. Make sure you are in a place where you will not be disturbed, and I will see you right after Chizi is done. So Chizi, you are welcome to take over from here. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you so much, Sapuchi, for that beautiful introduction. Just a second. All right, thank you so much for that beautiful introduction. To our participants connected from all over the world, good evening from Nigeria. My name is Chizi Daniels. My account name is reading Chizi Iwumune because that's my official name. I work at the Lagos Business School, so it's my official account, but Chizi Daniels happens to be my pen name. I hope this is going to be an interesting session. I'd like you to pay keen attention. Can you all hear me, please? Can you all hear me? Hello? Hello?
Okay, Chizi, everybody is muted. So
okay,
if you want feedback, you have to ask people to raise their hands or some other way. Now, if anybody, you can also see them type in the chat box, send you messages.
Oh, all right. So that's fine. I just wanted to be sure that we are on the same page. So if you can hear me, can you raise your hands? If you can hear me, can you just raise your hands? Let me be sure we're all on the same page. If you can hear me, please kindly raise your hands. Kindly raise your hands. If you can hear me, kindly raise your hands. All right, I'm seeing hands. Irolua, seeing hands. Shalom, Pamelirin, Zico, Afua. All right. So let me suppose that the others are following up. Thank you for that warm response. So once again, my name is Chizi Daniels, and tonight I'm going to be taking us on a very important topic, like Sapuchi has mentioned, and the topic is on the art of public speaking. Like he has rightly explained, we'll be expecting African Impact ambassadors to host meetings. Could be academic meetings, could be leadership meetings, could be on community sensitization, whichever you choose to. And part of what you require to do that effectively is public speaking. And so it's my honor and pleasure to begin tonight's very first session of the African Impact Bootcamp on the art of public speaking. So I'll be sharing my screen right away. You can bring down your hands, sorry, thank you. So I'll be sharing my screen right away. All right, so our session tonight is the art of public speaking. And I'll go ahead and begin right away. So for tonight's session, we're going to be looking at the introduction codes. I will look at how to deliver your speech, that's delivering your speech, and then I'll make some final comments on that. All right, so by way of introduction, Gerald Ford said, if I went back to college again, I'd concentrate on two areas: learning to write and to speak before an audience. He said, nothing in life is more important than the ability to communicate effectively. Now, if it's the art of public speaking or public speaking by Dale Carnegie, you will certainly agree that public speaking is a very essential skill everyone needs in life, not just to be an African Impact ambassador. Public speaking is an essential skill that you will need in every and at every walk of life. It's important because almost everything we do in life involves communication. And once you're not talking to an individual, once you're not talking to your friend, you're not talking to your dad or mom, you're addressing two or more persons. In a sense, we can call that public speaking. So what is public speaking? I define public as an oral communication. Public speaking is an oral communication spoken in front of a group of people, which combines the skill of speaking and the art of communication to achieve an already intended objective. Now, if you note that definition, you'll see that some words were intentionally boldened. So you could note that public speaking is a skill. So by that, it's something that everyone, public speaking is not a gift that you're born with, is a skill you learn. And then communication is an art. Art in the sense that it can also be learned. It involves the use of skill. You know, skill is very synonymous with art, you know. And then the essence of public speaking is to achieve an already intended objective. When we get into the class proper, you will understand that there is a difference between talking and speaking. So I said this combination is very important in public speaking because it's one thing to talk, and then it is yet another thing to speak. So while talking is arbitrary, you can just talk anything you like, say first one to Chinese class. There's a purpose
Okay, I think that Chizi is having issues with his network, but I think he will be back soon. Okay, he's back.
All right, we're back. Sorry about that break. Let me get back to my screen. All right. So like we were saying, speaking can be informative, your speaking can be persuasive, or it can be entertaining. Speaking can be informative, it can be persuasive, or it can be entertaining. Your speaking is informative when it informs, when it educates, when it leads the audience to a new knowledge or discovery. A lot of what you're going to be doing out there as African Impact Ambassadors will involve an informative teach people, to entertaining when it helps the audience to relax. You know, when it helps them to calm their nerves, when it provides a comic relief, it makes them laugh, it's said to be entertaining. Your speaking is persuasive when it invites, it triggers, it compels the audience to make a crucial decision or take an action. You see? So as African Impact ambassadors, your speaking oftentimes will be informative, and then it's going to be persuasive. Remember, we said while we're building the foundation that your speaking should have a message. And then it's meant to achieve an already intended something that's already intended. There's an intention you have in mind. So your speaking is meant to achieve that. So you could speak to sell a product, you could speak to sell an idea, you could speak to convince people to change their views, to change their opinion about something. So that kind of speaking is persuasive. Now, I said a good speaker tries to skillfully weave in the two other functions into the main purpose of their speech. So if you're speaking, for example, to inform people, it's important you weave in the entertaining and the persuasive aspects. If you're speaking to persuade people, it's also important that you inform them and also, you know, make them relax. And if your speaking is entertaining, it would also be nice if you incorporate some elements of information and persuasion in it. So a good speaker, whether he's speaking to inform, whether he's speaking to entertain, whether he's speaking to persuade, tries to weave in the other components into the speech. Are we following so far? So, all right, I'd like to ask a question now. So my question, I want us to get into the pool and answer. I want to ask a quick question now. So who can point out an example aside the examples I've given here already? Can I get people point out examples of public speeches that are informative, that are entertaining, that are persuasive? Just get into the pool or into the comment section. Give an example of a public speaking that's informative, that's entertaining, and that's persuasive. One for each. Yes. Okay. Let's do that in the chat room. So just give an example of a public speaking that is informative. Just do informative and you say example, then do persuasive, you say example, and then do entertaining and you say example. All right, so let's do that quickly. Remember, we are going to be assessed for this session and the organizers are taking note of our class participation. All right, so while you do that, let's make progress. All right, so I said many scholars and experts, they have rated the fear of public speaking only second to the fear of death. Yes, you had that right. And I said every speaker, no matter how good, still experiences this fear in certain measures, you know. So it requires, public speaking requires determination, it requires courage, and it requires constant practice to be a good speaker. Like Dale Carnegie notes, only the prepared speaker deserves to be confident. We'll get to all of this. You know, we're still building the introduction. We're still getting into the art of public speaking. Psychology today says that surveys about our fears show fear of public speaking at the top of the list. You know, our fear of standing in front of a group and talking is so great that we fear it more than death, at least according to some surveys. So you need to realize that public speaking is not going to be an easy nut to crack, especially when you've not done it before. But it's something that when you do one, you will be inspired to do another, you try to do another. And the more you do it, the more this tension, the more this fear reduces. But no matter how good you are as a speaker, you will certainly experience a certain measure of this fear. It's nothing to worry about. It's only a pointer that you're a human and that you're about to do something very important, something very significant. All right, so let's quickly proceed. Please, Sopruchi, let me know how much time I have for this presentation, so I'll be able to plan myself well. All right, so let's get to the basics. So I want to speak to our, I want to speak public, or to have my first public speaking experience. What are the basics? What things I should look in my public speaking? So I said the best in public speaking, acronym AMS. AMS, that's the acronym I used. I said there's the audience, there's a message, and then there's a strategy. There's the audience, there's a message, and there's a strategy. So I said knowing your audience well will help you think out the best strategy to communicate your message to them. So say you want to speak to some secondary school students on effective leadership. So the secondary school students are your audience. Your message is on effective leadership. Then the strategy will now be the steps, the hacks, the examples, the illustrations, the stories, the analogies, the demonstrations, and all manner of stuff you're going to use to communicate your message. So in every art of public speaking, there must be an audience, there must be a message, and there must be a strategy for achieving the message. Sorry, for achieving the messages, for achieving the message. All right, so let's make progress. So I said every speech, no matter how short or long, will have an introduction, a body, and a conclusion. Even if you're going to give a 1-minute speech, in that 1-minute speech, you have to introduce the speech, you have to talk about it, and you have to conclude it. So I said, no matter what you say, no matter what you're going to be speaking on, you have to find a unique way to personalize it. Everybody can come and talk about leadership. Everybody can come and talk about being a good citizen, being a patriotic citizen. But how do you make your speech original? How do you make your speech unique to you, so that by the time you climb down from the podium, people leave that event, people leave that occasion with a strong impression that you've created in their minds? How do you achieve that? So Dale Carnegie, who we can consider the father of public speaking in a sense, gives us a clue. He said, speakers who talk about what life has taught them never fail to keep the attention of their listeners. You see? So that's what it means to personalize your message. You're going to be going out there as African Impact ambassadors to impact your immediate community. That's part of the vision of this boot camp. We looked at Africa and we discovered that there are a lot of problems out there in Africa. Many people are just complaining. Many people are just blaming the government. And we're not caring to find out what are the little things we can do. What are the things we can do as individuals to help solve Africa's problem? You are Africa and I am Africa. And complaining will do us no good. So in your public speaking efforts, you want to go out there to inspire young people to embrace politics and participate actively. Say, for example, in Nigeria, the elections is coming up next year, barely 8 months to the election, and the campaign process is about to begin. Many aspirants are beginning to declare their interest, some of them have even started touring the states in Nigeria, and are beginning to start their campaigns and their manifestos. So you have a vision of wanting to influence in the political sphere. It begins by finding your message. What are you going to talk to them about? How are you going to say it? Once you are able to make your speech personal to you, you will win the attention of your audience. We still have a long way to go, so let's run. All right, so the next point is that after you have learned the basics of public speaking, after you have found out who your audience are, after you have gotten the message for your audience, and after you have chosen the right strategies to deliver your message, the next thing you have got to do is that you will need to create an outline for your speech. You will need to create an outline for your speech. You need to create what? An outline for a speech. So when speaking in public, your message, no matter how important, will not be effective or memorable if you don't have a clear structure. So an outline, like a structure of your speech. When I started this evening session, I gave us an outline of what I'm going to be talking about. The outline helps you to coordinate yourself. The outline helps your speaking to have a bearing, so that you don't just start talking from A and next thing you are in D, and then you find yourself in D and you come back to L. You know, so creating an outline helps your speech to be structured, gives your speech a structure and a pattern that it is meant to follow. It also does the job of helping you to remain on track. So you can always go back to your outline, say, okay, I've talked about number 1, I've talked about number 2. I don't have to jump to number 6 when I've not talked about number 4. You see? So after you have learned the basics, remember we started from the introduction, then we talked about the basics, and the basics, it involves your audience, your message, and your strategies. So the next thing you need to do is to create an outline. Yeah, the outline is the structure of your speech. All right. I said your outline is simply a list of things, a summary, a fully written speech, or a sketch of what you want to talk about. Are you there? All right. So let me be sure that we're still following. So once again, if you're there with me and you can hear me, can you kindly raise your hand once again? Can you kindly raise your hands? If you can hear me, yes. 5 participants, 6, 7, 8. Yes. 11 participants, yeah. 12, 13. Okay, 13, 14, 15, 16. Let's get it up to 20. Yeah, 40 participants here. We're 15. 15 are raising their hands. 16, 18 participants have raised their hands. All right, continue. 19, just one more to go. And who is that person? Is that person? Beautiful, excellent, fine, that's wonderful. So right, we started on the art of public speaking.
Chizi?
And so far, yeah, I can hear you.
There are responses to your question in the chat. So I'm not sure you can see the chat. Can you?
I can see it if I want to, but it's just I'm sharing my screen. So we could appoint someone to look at that, or I could do that at the end of the meeting. So I'm not distracted. All right, thank you. So we said your outline is simply a list of things. Yeah, you can bring down your hands now. Thank you. You can bring down your hands now. Yeah, you can bring down your hands now. Thank you. So your outline is a list of things that you want to say. Yeah. You see, it could be a sketch. It could be something that is fully written out, but you must always keep your audience and the event in mind when doing your outline. Always keep your audience in mind. Always keep the event in mind. Are you speaking in a secondary school, perhaps during their moral instruction, and you're giving just 30 minutes? You have to keep that in mind. Are you speaking to some youth in a church meeting and they've invited you as the guest speaker and they've given you 45 minutes to deliver a sermon, you have to factor that in mind. What are the kind of persons who are listening to you? Are they children? It will determine the kind of things you will say. Are they politicians? Are they students in the secondary or in the university level? Are you talking to market women, for example? The language you use to communicate to students in primary school will not be the same language you use when you're talking to market women on the streets. It will not be the same language you use when you're talking to people in the tech space and they invited you to come and speak to them. All right, so I said what leaders and famous people usually have their speeches fully written out. You remember the Gettysburg classic speech by Abraham Lincoln, John F. Kennedy's speech. They have all of their speeches written out and they look down, read from their paper, look up, look down, look up. Most political office holders have their speeches written, perhaps by an expert, and they rehearse it days before their presentation, before going to do that. So I said, as a beginner, it is good to have a note on the important points you would want to make and the order you would want them to come. You sure would need an outline. So that's just to establish the point that in public speaking, you need an outline. Could be a short note, could be something fully written out. So the next one we would want to talk about is public speaking codes. All right, so we're going to do another exercise shortly. So a few years ago, I was doing my graduate studies at the University of Nigeria, and we had a student foundation I called Genius Foundation, where we mentored students on academic excellence, on public speaking, on essay writing, on scholarship opportunities, on a number of stuff. It was in that foundation I developed what I am now sharing as public speaking codes. So by public speaking codes, I mean some important characteristics of public speaking, some important features that will make your public speaking effective. So you have a message, you have known who your audience are, you've gotten your strategy. The next thing you need to know is that there are certain codes that can make your speech stand out, and then there are certain codes that can also frustrate your speech. So you have that on the screen. So appearance talks about basically your dressing, how neat you appear, and as we get along, you will see why these codes are important. The next is your gestures. You could see, if you can see me, you could see that I'm moving my hands, moving my face. It talks about your gesture so that your speaking is not monotonous. Imagine somebody who is speaking and is standing on a podium like a tree. He will lose the attention of his audience. But when you use gestures, when you move your hands, you move your face, you turn your eyes, you have the attention of your audience. Then the next one is stage management. Stage management. How do you manage your stage where you are? How do you manage it? Then you have eloquence. Eloquence talks about the steadiness of your speech connected to your grammar, Then you have energy, you have passion, energy or passion, There are speakers that they speak with so much energy, energy or passion. Passion attracts passion. When people talk passionately, it is very hard to resist them. When people talk passionately, it is very hard for you not to pay attention. So one of the surest secrets of public speaking is to ensure that you are speaking with passion. And to speak with passion means that message is coming from your heart, not from your head. To speak with passion means that you are talking about something that concerns you, something that is very important to you. And it shows in the expression of your passion. It shows in the way you say it. There's a way you say something so passionately that you leave your audience with no other choice but to say, this, I've got to consider this. For this person to talk like this, then I've got to consider it. Then the next, the pitch. The pitch talks about your volume, the modulation of your voice. When you go up, you come down, you know. You want to exercise a point, you can raise your voice. At a certain point, you can, you know, pause a bit. That's pitch. Then the next one is confidence. Then the next one is practice. There's one I missed out. Eye contact. Eye contact, very important. So under public speaking codes, you have your appearance, you have your gestures, you have stage management, you have eloquence, you have passion through energy, you have your pitch. You can see I'm raising my voice now. You have your pitch, then you have confidence, and then you have practice. And the one not on the list, you have what I call eye contact. Eye contact, very important. All right, so in the next slide, I'm going to be asking us questions. So we need to get into the class, into the rooms once again. We need to get into the rooms once again. So this is class activity. So this is class activity. So which of these public speaking codes have you employed in your speech? Which of them have you used? Which of them, they are codes. Which of them have you paid attention to in your speech? Can we have a pool? Who helps me? Who helps me? Oh, God. So the second question is there any connection between these codes? And then which of them is most important for you? So let's get your feedback in the comment section, in the chat session. Okay, yeah. Okumbo say I constantly use eye contact. Yes. Okay, let's use the chat room. All right. I'm seeing some of the messages here. Fine, beautiful. Please, I'd like us to note that our class participation is very important in all our sessions, because that will be the only way to show that you are following the class. That'll be the only way to show that you're paying attention, you know, because I'm sharing my screen, you get to see everyone. So you have to make sure you're participating, you have to be following, and the only way you can confirm that is by responding to the questions. So just 2 more minutes and then we will run 2 more minutes. So which of these public speaking codes have you employed? Okay, eloquence and pitch. Okumba said eloquence and pitch are interwoven. Okay, you're trying to find a connection. Oh, yeah, all right. Yes, you're correct. Let me go back a bit so you can see it again. All right. So you have your appearance. All right, let me help you a bit. Your appearance is connected with your confidence. You will find that out. One of the easiest ways to solidify your confidence in a public speaking opportunity or in a public speaking event is to dress very smart. And when you dress in a smart way, it gives you 50% of the confidence, you know. The other 50% of the confidence comes from your practice. So you see there's a connection between your appearance and your confidence level. There's also a connection between your confidence level and your practice. Speakers who have spent days and weeks and hours practicing their speech usually come out very confident. Yes, you're raising your hands. You have a question. All right, like Subruchi noted, please, if you have a question in any of the things we've mentioned, kindly write it down and you will pass it through the facilitators and we'll be able to respond to them at the end of the class, please. So if you have a question, kindly write it down so you don't forget. And then when it's time for questions, you just slide it in so we could respond to that. So how are these things connected? How are these codes connected? Is there any connection between stage management and your gestures and your body language? Is there any connection? All right, so while you respond to that, I want you to know that we're taking notes of your responses in class. We're taking notes of that. All right. So I'm gradually coming to the end of the class. So if you have questions, begin to articulate them now. So far, we said that public speaking is an art and is a skill, is an art, and it has a message. And we said there's a difference between talking and speaking. The difference between talking is that talking is arbitrary, but speaking has to have a message. That's what makes speaking standard. And we said that the basics of public speaking, what every public speaking activity must involve, is that there must be an audience to whom you're talking to, there must be a message, and then there must be a strategy that you're using or you're going to use to deliver your message. So it's part of those strategies that we're looking at now. How, the codes, the public speaking codes, how do you dress for a public speaking event? You would want to speak to politicians who are rich, so you would not want to wear a jean and a polo, with a face cap, addressing politicians. They'll look at you and say, hey, who is that? You want to talk to students, so you don't have to appear like a mechanic. So you also factor your audience in when you're dressing. You factor your audience in your dressing, in your appearance. You appear in a way that will connect with your audience and also connect with your message. All right, so having said that, let's make some more progress. Well, I want you to know that we're taking cognizance of all your responses. And like we said earlier, that's the only way we can be sure that you're participating, So before the end of the class, I would ask us to turn on our videos so I could see our faces. By the time we'll be asking and responding to questions, I will be needing us to turn on our videos so we could see our faces. All right, so let's make progress as we begin to round up. All right, so delivering your speech. So you know what public speaking is about. You found your audience. You want to go and talk to some group of persons in your locality, perhaps market women, or just villagers in the village who are not employed yet, and you want to sensitize them. You want to empower them with information. You want to enlighten them, So, and then you have known the basics. You have known the basics, and then we've told you that you have to create an outline. You have to list out the things you want to talk about. Of course, in the course of the bootcamp, Jachima will be telling us about how to do preliminary online research. By the time you have determined what you want to talk about, you may need to get to the internet to get information about it. To prepare this speech, I went on the internet and I downloaded a lot of materials. I searched in so many places, got information here and there, had to remove some, put some, synthesize them to be able to come up with what we have now. You see? So after you have known your audience, after you have prepared an outline, after you have seen the public speaking codes, the next thing is delivering your speech. So how do you deliver your speech? Always pay attention that when it comes to public speaking, the number one most important element is your audience. Never forget that. Just like they say in business that the customer is always right. In public speaking, the audience always comes first. the audience always comes first, you know. Okay, I've not been able to personalize this speech like I taught us. So okay, I actually started speaking in my undergraduate days. High school days, I was a prefect. I was a chapel prefect, so I was conducting assembly for students in the school. In the secondary school session, we had over 1,500 students from grade 4 to about grade 6, you know, in Nigeria, SS1 to SS3. But all of them will not come to the assembly at the same time. So you will only get to conduct assembly for those who are early to school. So on the average, we are conducting the assembly for about 500 to 700 students. So that was the earliest beginning of my public speaking experience. That was the earliest beginning of my public speaking experience. Sorry, there's a little noise in the background. 1 minute, 1 second, just a second. All right, I'm back. So I had to close the window so the noise from the neighborhood doesn't get into what we're talking about. So after that, I had spoken to students, you know, would lead them to do songs, we'll pray, we'll sing hymns, and then we'll take the national anthem, and then I invite the teachers or somebody who has something to say to the students. That was the earliest beginning of my public speaking experience. From there, it grew. By the time I got into my undergraduate days, I was privileged. When I got into college, I was privileged to start my coaching classes, my coaching sessions with students. So I had something burning in my heart, and it was not difficult for me to get the attention of people. Once you have a message, once it is burning in your heart, you will always have people ready to listen to you. But when it is just in your head, when it is not in your heart, you will struggle communicating it with people. So how do you deliver your speech? How do you deliver your speech? I said, connect with your audience, however you're going to do this. Whatever strategy, remember when we were starting, we talked about the basics. We said strategy. So what strategy are you going to use to connect to your audience? What strategy will you employ to connect to your audience? What strategy will you employ? Will it be humor? Will you use illustrations? Will you use analogy? Will you tell them a story? Will you bring out some people? Okay, back then, one of the ways I used to win the attention of students is that I just ask a student to stand up, and then I ask another student somewhere to stand up. You know, once you tell somebody to stand up, the whole audience will be like, wow, what is he up to? So you get the attention. And I tell the other person to stand up. It stands up. So they are like, what is he up to? What is he up to? So everybody is wanting to pay attention, you know? And then I draw an analogy. I give an example between this student and that student, and why this one is excelling in class and the other one is not excelling in class. And many times they are wow. Sometimes they get to clap. You know, by the time, and the beautiful thing about these illustrations is that when you make illustrations, you come up with fresh knowledge. Sometimes knowledge that you didn't even have in mind. Sometimes knowledge that was not even on your notes. By the time you make an illustration of something, an everyday reality, perhaps, or you just compare two persons, depending on what you're talking about, you come up with a fresh knowledge that will leave everyone wondering, oh, I thought I knew this. I thought I knew this. So connect with your audience, however you're going to do that. Establish your credibility. Tell them why they need to listen to you. You know, when Sapuchi was giving us the introduction, he said a few things about me, and he said I've been in the public speaking space for over a decade now, you know. So that goes to establish a credibility. So your audience would like to know, why should they listen to you? So if you're on this boot camp and you are in college, you're an undergraduate student, and you're going to speak to secondary school students, that your number one credibility is to let them know that you have passed through that stage. There's a time in your life when you were in secondary school, when you were in high school, and some of the things they were doing now, you did same. But what has happened to you? You have grown. You have passed that level, and by passing through that level, by passing through that stage, you have been exposed to the things they've not been exposed to. You have seen life at the higher pedestal. You've had new experiences. You've learned new things. You are now wiser. You are now older. So based on these premises, you establish your credibility. Everybody would like to listen to someone who is ahead of him or her. So why should they listen to you? What knowledge have you got? What skill have you got? What have you achieved that should make them give you 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes of your time? It's important. And professional speakers around the world, they do the first 2 within 30 seconds. They just climb the stage and say, hello, my name is Chizi Daniels. Over the past 15 years, I've spent my life talking to students at different campuses, helping them excel in their studies and discover their unique path to greatness. So you'll be like, oh, so you've done this, you've been doing this over the past 11 years. Oh, I've got to listen. So establish your credibility. The next thing you've got to do is to contemplate the most appropriate method you will use to engage your audience. So what method am I going to use to engage them? Depending on your audience. Remember, just like in business, we said the customer is always right. In public speaking, the audience always comes first. In everything you're saying, in everything you're doing, whether you're using eye contact, whether it's body language, whether it's gesture, whether it's passion you're using, whatever you're using, the audience comes first. So in this session tonight, you all are my audience. So that's why no matter what I say, I try to get back, I try to rephrase, I try to, make sure that you're following. So one more time, let's get to know who is following. So if you're still following, you can still hear me, please. Can you kindly raise your hands? Raise your hands. Raise your hands. Let's see if we can get up to 30 hands. Yeah, we have 10 hands raised. 11. Yes. If you can hear me, 14, 15, 16. Oh, beautiful. 18 hands up, 19, 20, 22. Oh, that's good. Go ahead. If you can hear me, can you kindly raise your hands? Yeah, I can see Sandra. Yes, I can see Isaac. I can see Pamilerin, Deborah. We have 24 hands. Yes, if you can hear me. Yeah, 28 hands, 29. Beautiful. 30. Beautiful. Let's see if we can get to 40. We have 47 participants. Yes, 30, 31. So 16 persons, what has happened to them? All right, 33. That's beautiful. 34. I hope someone is paying attention. I hope someone is recording. That's 34. All right, so beautiful. So contemplate the most, okay, you can bring down your hands now. Contemplate the most appropriate method you're going to use to engage your audience. Now, make sure you have well rehearsed. It's one thing to have a message. It's another thing to own your message. Imagine I just came here and I was just reading from the laptop. Imagine I just came here and I was just reading sentence to sentence. It will be boring. It will be monotonous. So there'll be need to add life to your presentation. And that life comes from your rehearsals. When you rehearse, you make mistakes. When you rehearse, you see the areas where you perhaps might not have gotten it so well. You see the areas where you need to improve on. You see the things perhaps you had said that you don't need to say, and you're paying attention to all of that. So make sure you have rehearsed well. And then your rehearsal is what we call practice in the public speaking code. It has a very strong connection with your confidence level. Now, manage your fear, manage your anxiety. Okay, how do I manage my fear when I'm speaking in public? I like to be very personal now. Okay. Okay. So I get an opportunity to speak to students. I I was in the eastern part of Nigeria a few months ago, and then I spoke to undergraduates from about 10, 20 campuses. Uh, we had a meeting. Yes, so they came from around different campuses, and then they were seated, and I was to talk to this young, vibrant audience. So there are a lot of expectations. I prepared my speech months before, sent the organizers, but now these are a crowd of people waiting to hear you. How do I manage it first? I know my subject very well. Two, I'm speaking to human beings like me. You always have to keep that at the back of your mind, that you are talking to human beings and not gods. No matter how much they would want to scare you, no matter how much you want to get nervous or anxious, remind yourself that you're going to be meeting human beings like you, and that you are not the first. One of the things I tell students is that even if you make a first class, you just join the list. You're not the first, and you won't be the last. So remind yourself that you're not the first going out there to speak to people in public. And if others have done it, you can do it. What other thing do I do to manage my fear and anxiety? I engage the audience. So I'm up there speaking. The next thing, I climb down the podium and I walk into the audience. Once I do that, my fear and anxiety dies. I'm one with them. So I touch someone, I say, hey, what's your name? Can you stand up? I'm engaging rapport. I'm building rapport with my audience. So however you're going to do it, make sure you manage your fear and your anxiety. And then I said, finally, leave the stage when the ovation is loudest. Strive to leave the stage when the ovation is loudest. When the ovation is loudest, just draw it at that peak and call it quits. Let them be expecting more, and you say, ladies and gentlemen, it is at this point we draw the curtains. Leave them with further expectation. Leave them with further expectation. They will crave to have more of you. All right. So having said that, we're almost coming to the end of this class. I want to thank you for your participation so far. I want to thank you for your participation so far, for as many who has been very active. I see some of our chats. I'm not able to, follow through, but I see some of our chats. Okay. Omaka said guest choice one I use closely, And Sandra said the most important is passion stroke energy. That's beautiful. Excellent. Yeah. For me, one of the most important for me is passion. It doesn't matter what I have to say. If there's no passion in it, it's dead. All right. Doesn't matter how much I have rehearsed, how much I've practiced. If there's no passion in it, if it's not coming from the heart, it's not going to get to the other person's heart. So all of those codes are important. The more of them you have, the more you're going to strike your point. All right. So in talking about academic excellence, I've been doing that for the past 11 years. I'm counting. And when I facilitate sessions on writing exams, intellectual delivery, I tell students that you can make a point. What is photosynthesis? Photosynthesis is this. Then I also tell them that you can hit a point. Photosynthesis is this, and it happens under this and that condition. When it happens, this is the result. I also tell them that you can strike a point. What is the essence of photosynthesis? Photosynthesis is the means by which plants receive food and nutrients. Beyond the explanation, beyond the definition, All right. Izeuma said that, okay, Tango said I missed the class activity due to network. I hope the facilitators will be able to attend to that. But we're taking note of as many who are responding in the chat room, and we're taking note of our class participation. So try to leave the stage when the ovation is loudest. Now, as we draw this session or this particular class to an end, I want to give us 7 quick tips for public speaking. 7 quick tips for public speaking. So are we ready? All right, so I said tip 1, own your confidence. Own your confidence. You're going to be going out there to be talking to people. Some of us here might have been doing public speaking before. Some of us might have been effective. Some of us might not have been so effective. But these 7 tips will make you stand out as a public speaker. And the very first one is that you own your confidence. And like we said in the course of the training, there are 2 ways to do that. First is preparation, and second is appearance. So to own your confidence, you have to make sure you're well prepared. You have to make sure that you are dressed smart. So one important key to success is self-confidence. An important key to self-confidence is preparation. You know, Aristotle said we are what we repeatedly do. Excellence, therefore, is not an act, but a habit. You know, excellent students are excellent because they have a lifestyle of daily preparation. You know, I tell students that many students fail before they enter the exam hall. As well, too, many students pass before they enter the exam hall. It is not in the exam hall that you will determine whether you will pass or fail. No, you do that long before you get into the exam hall if you're a student. So you only get to the exam hall to confirm your failure, to confirm your success, or you excuse your failure. So you see, take care of your costume and your confidence will take care of itself. So that's the very first tip, own your confidence. I hope we're making notes. Own your confidence. Number 2, be clear and simple. Be clear and simple. Albert Einstein said, if you can't explain it simply, you don't understand it well enough. You know, I'm a professional editor, so I get to review many works from people, from books to articles to statement of purposes, you know, to all manner of stuff. I edit. There are some I get to, and I'll be like, excuse me, sir, what are you trying to say? I read a whole sentence, I read 2, I read 3, and I've not understood yet what point the person wants to make. So you must be able to explain your message in simple terms. Explain it in such a way that a primary school student can understand it. All right. The next person said, in presentations or speeches, less is really more. Less is really more. Less is really more. Less is really more. All right. So number 1, we said, own your confidence. Number 2, be clear and simple. Be clear and simple. Number 3, always keep your audience in mind. We can't overemphasize this. Always keep your audience in mind. As a matter of fact, your audience is always right. Designing a presentation without an audience in mind is like writing a love letter and addressing it to whom it may concern. You know, who has ever written a love letter before? Many hands are still up. Are they asking questions? Or the hands that we raised in the last session? Who has ever written a love letter before? Who has ever written a love letter before? Whom did you address the love letter to whom it may concern? All right. So think like a wise man, but communicate it in the language of the people. That's WDE. Think like a wise man, but communicate it in the language of the people. Always remember that your audience will not enter your mind to know the subject, how well you know it, to understand the subject, how well you understand it. So if you're going to make any sense, if you're going to make any points, then you have to make sure that You communicate in the language of your audience. You communicate in the way your audience will understand. You connect with your audience as much as possible. So tip number one, we said own your confidence. Tip number two, we said be clear and simple. And then we are saying tip number three, always keep your audience in mind. All right, tip number four, know your subject thoroughly. Know your subject thoroughly. The best way to conquer stage fright is to know what you're talking about. Many times when people have stage fright, it is usually because they've not prepared enough. Preparation has a way of drowning fear. In fact, it produces the reverse of it. There's a way you prepare, you become overconfident, which is also harmful. When you are overconfident, it makes you not to pay attention to certain things you are meant to pay attention to. It makes you presumptuous. It makes you hasty. So either ends are extremes that must be avoided. Either ends are extremes that must be avoided. So know your subject thoroughly. There are three things to aim at in public speaking. First is to get into your subject. Then to get your subject into yourself. And lastly is to get your subject into the heart of your audience. So the three main things you have to do in public speaking, you have to get the subject into you. So you have to get into the subject. That is by reading it, by doing research, finding what the subject is about, knowing the subject, knowing what message you want to communicate. Then you get the subject into yourself. You move it from your head to your heart. Many times we read and we forget because we just read it once. I've had the privilege of mentoring and coaching a lot of students over the years.
Chizi?
And oftentimes they tell me, I read and I don't understand. I tell them, I read and I also don't understand too.
Chizi.
No, sorry, they say I read and I forget. I tell them, you're not alone. I also read and forget. But the question is the frequency. How often do you read? There's a way you read a thing that you can never forget it all your life. There are things I read in my primary school that I've not forgotten yet. There are poems I used in my jam while I was preparing to get into college that I can still remember and recite now because of the way I read them. So you have the short-term memory and you have the long-term memory. And the information you set to the short-term memory or the long-term memory will determine how much and how well you can remember, you can articulate that information. You get that? Yeah, I'm here.
You have 5 minutes to conclude.
Yeah, I'm almost done. All right, so let's quickly round up. My time is running 5 minutes. So let's quickly round up. We'll say tip 4 is know your subject thoroughly. Tip 5, tell a story. You see, have I told any story in the course of this presentation? Have I? Storytelling is the most powerful way to put ideas into the world today. Employed by marketers, by content creators, by advertising agents, once people can forget what you say, but they are likely to remember the story you told them. So depending on your audience, make sure you tell a story. If you don't use stories, audience members may enjoy your speech, but there's no chance they'll remember it. I think we've already established that. Okay, number 6, I said add humor. Once you get people laughing, they are listening, and you can tell them almost anything. So be strategic, be creative. You may not be a comedian, but you can say something that's funny. You can say something that relaxes their attention. So humor is a robust sword. It allows you to make a point without drawing blood. All right. So one more time, let's get to know we're almost at the end of the class. So if you are still here, can you kindly raise your hands? Let's see how many hands are up. If you are there, can you kindly raise your hands? Let's see how many hands are up. Let's see how many hands are up. Let's see how many hands are up. Yes, 20, 21, beautiful, beautiful. All right, 20, 22, 22, all right, 24. Yes, 25. 26, 28. Oh, beautiful. Oh, 27 participants, 27, 28. Yeah, beautiful. Yes, 28 participants, 28 participants, beautiful. 27 participants. All right, that's fine. That's fine. So I said the seventh tip, you can bring down your hands now because we'll soon take the questions. So the seventh tip, we said brevity is key. Brevity is key. Brevity is key. So many attempts to communicate are nullified by saying too much. Many attempts to communicate are nullified by saying too much. If you don't use stories, audience members may enjoy your speech, but there's no chance they'll remember it. Many attempts to communicate are nullified by saying too much. All right. So, with that said, we're coming to the end of this session. So finally, there are three ways, there are three speeches for everyone you actually gave. For every speech you gave, there are actually three speeches. There are always three speeches for everyone you actually gave. The one you actually gave, the one you practiced, and the one you gave. The one you actually gave, the one you practiced, and the one you gave. And the one you wish you gave. Okay, let me take that again. There are always three speeches for every one you actually gave. First is the one you practiced. Second is the one you gave. And third is the one you wish you gave. To speak clearly, if you have to speak at all, carve every word before you say it. And it's on this note, I want to thank you for your time. Can we take questions now? Over to you, Sapuruchi. Let me stop sharing.
Thank you so
Can
much.
I stop sharing now?
Yes, you can. You can. Thank you so much, Chizi. It's been a wonderful session. Thank you so much. So what we're going to do now is to have a few of the people who have questions, ask them. I know you would have your questions on a number of subjects, and we'll have you raise your hand. We'll choose the first 5 hands that we can see to ask their questions in real time. So, Chizi, just hang around. You may need to answer these questions. So, yes, if you have a question, take your hand up. Okay, I see Chinaya Ogechi and others. So I'm going to just start with, I'll ask you to unmute. You unmute yourself, then you ask your question. Go ahead, Chinaya. You can unmute yourself. Okay, I will take it that Chinaya Ogechi does not have a question. I think the hand is just up because the hand has always been up. So let me ask Samuel Ayobami Dele to unmute himself and ask his question if he has anyone to ask. Right, Chine, you can unmute yourself. If you look at your screen, I'm asking you to unmute yourself. You can do that.
Okay.
Now. Okay.
Okay, good evening. Oh,
right.
Okay, I wanted to ask, are there age differences to public speaking? Actually, I joined in late and I've gotten a lot already. But I want to know, like, does age determine what you say? Like, I don't know, the age brackets of your audience, something like that. Does it determine your speech?
Okay. So, Chizi, would you do justice to that in a short time? Does age determine what is said in public speaking? Well, Chizi, you have to mute yourself. I'm asking you to mute yourself to respond to this question. Maybe he's going to take a drink or something. Okay, let me get you to ask all your questions then. He would respond to that when he's back. So, that's sorry. Right, so.
You want to for short. Good
Okay.
evening.
Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. Yes, my name is a bit of a mouthful. You can just call me one.
Sorry.
So my question is this. Public speaking can be used for a variety of things. We can talk about there's a lot to talk about, right? So I'd like to ask, like, is there a need for having a niche, so to say? I mean, if I'm giving an example, you can talk about health. You can build a brand where people recognize you as somebody who can speak publicly about health, or maybe law or tech or finance, or is it important to have a niche, or you can just be somebody that can speak about a variety of issues? Thank you very much.
Thank you for that question. So,
All right. I don't know why I'm not able to see who is speaking. All right. So I don't know why I'm not able to see who is speaking. All right. Like you rightly noted, the answer is a clear yes. Is a clear yes. Yes, just like in writing, there are niches. You know, I'm a ghostwriter. There are people that are into content development. There are people that are into advertising, into branding. There are people who are just freelancers. There are different niches. So it's important you define your field, your niche. And one beautiful thing about it, or one beautiful reason to do so, is so that you'll be known for something. Over the years, most of my speeches have been around academic excellence. So I'm known as an academic coach. Sometimes I get to churches and I preach and minister to people. But one dominant thing that when you mention Chizi Daniels, people know me for is I talk about excellence. So it's important to define your niche. Find a niche you are very passionate about, and build your strength around it. Build your strength around it. You can know something about everything. You can also know everything about something.
right, thank you so much for that. So for the purposes of the boot camp that we are training for, you would realize that the niche we are focusing on would be leadership. So your proposal will not address any other subject except leadership. So bear that in mind. So Izeoma, thank God, can you ask your question? I think I'll take that, and then I'll take Kelvin Augustine, and then we'll be done. We'll be done for today.
Okay, good evening, everyone.
Yes, good evening, thank God.
Yeah, good evening, Augustine.
Protocols. First of all, I want to appreciate the speaker. Thank you very, very much for the enlightenment and the teachings. Basically, I want to ask, towards the end of the teaching, you said that the speaker should always live at the loudest ovation.
When the ovation is loudest.
Yes, when the ovation is loudest. So I want to know why, and I want to add this enlightenment on that. Thank you very much.
So Chizi, would you want to answer why you would leave when ovation is loudest?
Okay, I think I try to use more words to that. Perhaps the network is not so strong. I said you would not like to leave when the audience are bored, when there's nothing to expect, when they are already in their mind saying, can he go, in our local dialect, there are teachers that when they come to class, their class is so boring, it gets to a point, students start Ruaren, Kopo, that's an Igbo dialect, meaning you can go, let him go, meaning that we're no longer interested. So what I'm trying to say is that engage your audience and try to live when that engagement is at the height of it. It's a skill in public speaking that the tempo in your public speaking is meant to grow, it's meant to build up to a certain climax. Then before it falls down, you call it shots. You may not arrive there immediately, but with practice, you learn that public speaking is a step. It's like you're climbing a hill. It's like you're going on a staircase. You get to that height where everybody can see you. You say, ladies and gentlemen, I hope I am able to bring you up to this height, and then you call it short. So what I'm saying in a sense of in a short while is leave when you have won their attention, when all of them are with you, when all of them are nodding. Leave with a sense of them wanting to have you again, not a sense of them saying you can go, but a sense of this young man has made so much point, and if we are giving him more time, he will say so much. Make them feel that you've not exhausted all you have to say, but you have to go because of time. And it's also important not to exhaust your time when you're speaking. Always leave 1 or 2 or 3 minutes for the organizers of the event. It gets to show that you have so much to say, and then you are also conservative. I don't know whether that answers that. Sorry, Augustine, are you there?
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Good evening, sir, and good evening, everybody.
Yes, this is Augustine, right?
Yes, sir. My name is Calvin Augustine.
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay, Kelvin. Sorry, I was missing you from the other person. All right, go ahead.
Okay. My question is actually in respect to stage management. I do understand that management is actually, it has to do with your ability to kind of incorporate abilities, like kind of, let's say, you are in a stage, your ability to manage your fear and all that. So my question was actually going to in respect to stage management and you being able to manage your gestures, your eloquence, your pitch, your confidence. Now, so my question is actually directing to, so what is now the difference between your ability to manage your pitch, your self, whatever, and all that, and the stage management? You say, what's the unique difference in between them, sir? Hello.
Yeah. So let's take all the questions and then we'll have Chizi. Let's take all the questions so you answer all of them at the same time.
Okay.
So yes, Kayode. You can unmute yourself if you want. You've noted Augustine's question.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, Kayode is having a little problem with unmuting himself. Can you let's have this as the last question for today.
Okay, all right, Augustine. So if you had followed the class, one of the class activities I asked earlier on then was whether you could, draw a connection among or within the public speaking codes that we shared. We talked about confidence, we talked about appearance, we talked about gestures, time management practice, talked about your eloquence, pitch, and then I mentioned eye contact that wasn't there. So your question is there any relationship? Of course, they are all related, but you're talking about how you manage yourself and then how do you manage the stage. So basically stage management, you would want to pay attention to the podium where you are standing, whether you have a podium or not. You want to pay attention to your audience, So if I'm to give a one-word answer, your eloquence, your posture, gesture, language, appearance, they all have to do with you, you know. But when it gets to stage management involves your ability, just like the word, to utilize the stage effectively. You know, you're not at a sport, you're not just looking. I know there are some public speakers that they're afraid to look their audience in the face. So it involves a complex of all these factors. Now, these are not things you achieve in a one-off event. It requires practice. That's why the golden rule in public speaking is practice, practice, and practice. It will do you well starting a public speaking to have an audience of say 4 or 5 persons who are your friends. You finished your speech, so they just sit and you rehearse your speech before the point out a few things. You pay attention to how you look, and then sometimes some persons rehearse their speech before a mirror. So stage management has to do with the way you carry yourself, into the stage, the audience you have, the way you rapport with your audience, especially your body language, your eye contact with the audience, and most especially your ability to manage time. So it's a complex of all these factors. I don't know whether that's clear. Augustine, is that clear?
Right. So I really appreciate everyone that is present here now. I know it's really difficult to stay on a call for 2 hours on our internet and all that, but I want to assure you that it is something that you will benefit from. So we will continue tomorrow at exactly 6 o'clock because we have 2 sessions tomorrow. It will be 40 minutes different. We'll be having 40 minutes classes for each person. So ensure you are there. Tomorrow's class is fundamentally important. It will be addressing how to write proposals, and we'll also be learning how to conduct preliminary research. Right? No, not how to create content creation, and proposal writing. You should not miss tomorrow because it's fundamental. Now, if your friends are supposed to be in this call and they are not there, please try to make them join tomorrow. We have a question in the chat that we haven't addressed, and that question asks, what if a person wants to start a practice for public speaking? And I will say, if you want to do public speaking as a work, you want to begin to do public speaking, stay true to this lecture to the end. Stay true to this lecture to the end. You are going to gain a lot. You are going to gain a lot. If you want to kickstart your public speaking career, this is a good way to start. On the strength of this, I'll be suspending today's meeting, and I will see you tomorrow. Thank you very much for your time. The recordings, the slides used by Chizi, and the slides we use throughout the course of this event will be shared to your emails. Ensure you check your spam. Ensure you check every part of your email to be sure that our emails are getting to you. So, see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Hi, thank you for having me. It's been a wonderful time. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for again.